A father had two sons, and he asked one of his sons to survey a particular, village to expand their business of footwear. The eldest son came back and he said, "Father, let's not open our shop there. Nobody is wearing shoes, nobody is wearing slippers, everybody's literally walking around barefoot. It's no point. We won't get customers there." And the father said, "Okay." The younger son came back and he said, "Father, let's go and open our shop immediately there." The father asked, "Why?" And he said, "Because nobody's wearing shoes, nobody's wearing slippers, literally everybody is walking barefoot. We have tons of customers there." Now you see, it's all a matter of perspective, right? You and I, we're going to be talking about something today that is going to involve a different perspective that is going to change a lot of things. The title says, "Why are we Nagas unemployed?" The youth of Nagas, that is you and I. The harsh reality that nobody talks about. When we talk about employment, the first thing that comes to our mind is a government job, right? And we say, "Why don't you have a job yet?" And everybody, including myself, say, "Oh, it's too hard to get a job in the government sector because the government doesn't issue enough jobs." But is that really true? You know, in a state where the population is about 20 to 23 lakhs approximately in Nagaland, the job should be about 3%, 6 to 700, okay? But instead, the government of Nagaland has employed about 1.3 to 1.4 lakhs of the population of Nagaland in the government sector. You can check out the statistics. Any other state it may be, it is always around 3% to 4% maximum, but in Nagaland, we have about 6 to 8% of population being employed in the government sector. That means the government is issuing a lot of jobs, even more than others. But you might say, but only 600 to 700 jobs are being issued every single year. And there are 60 to 70 to 80,000 aspirants looking for a job. And that is exactly why I can't, or we can't. But I don't think limited jobs from the government is the first reason for us being unemployed. So that is aside now. The next thing that we talk about when we say, "Why are you not employed?" It's because I don't get the right job. I don't want to work in that kind of sector when we talk about private sectors, right? Now, most of us, there is a stigma in Nagaland that private sector is not even considered a job to most people. But it is. How do you define employment? How do you define work? From my perspective, employment is being employed in any kind of work, right? Being employed means employment. But unless and until you're employed in the government sector, it's not even considered employed. But for me, it's different. I think it's time for us to bring a change in this perspective. Now, government, you will be surprised to know that the private sector is generating about 1.3 to 1.4 lakhs of job opportunities in Nagaland. That is a lot, right? And I'm pretty sure they generate more jobs every single year. But why are we, why are we still unemployed? The first reason that we always give is the pay is too low. I don't like to work in that. I don't want to work in that organization. I don't want to do that work. I don't want to do this work. I don't like this. I don't like that. We have tons of reasons. And we always dismiss the job. But here's the thing. The funny thing about this is that it is not us that we don't want the job. The job doesn't want us. There are so many sectors. You talk about accounting, you talk about marketing, you talk about sales, you talk about hospitality, you talk about music, you talk about sports, you talk about coding, computer related, IIT related works, all these things, okay? So many jobs where a person can acquire the job and live a sustainable life. But we do not want the job. Actually, that is not the thing. The job doesn't want us. Why? Because I finished my education, right? I am a graduate. Why do the job not want us? It's because it's not about the graduation. It's about the set of skills required to do that particular job. Many private sector's owners, they have come with a similar statement, okay, that I am looking for employees, but I cannot find the right person, the right person with the right amount of skills to execute the job perfectly, and I cannot find employees here. Why is it that, not trying to be biased, not trying to be, partial with anybody, but why is it that so many jobs available, but most of the employees are non-locals? The first reason is we Nagas, we don't want the job. We think that it's not befitting for us. It's below us, right? We think like that. That is our mindset. That is the rotten mindset that we have. But in reality, the locals, they're equipped with the right skills. The non-locals, equipped with the right skills. They come equipped with the right skills and they execute the job perfectly. So of course they get the jobs. And they are, taking advantage of every single opportunity that we have in our hands. Yeah, we just give it away. So that is the thing, okay? So that means private sector not befitting for us is not the reason. we not befitting for the private sector is the reason behind us being unemployed. So now we're talking about all these things, okay? So what is the solution, right? What is the solution for us to be employed? The solution is very simple, my friends. I think it's high time we start to define education very differently. We think that just knowing how to read and write and graduating is all about education. But in the real and true term, from my perspective, education is about equipping ourselves and educating ourselves with the right sort of knowledge. You want to be an accountant, you educate yourself in all the skills required for accounting. You want to be a good manager, an HR, a CEO, you equip yourself with all the sorts of required education. Now you want to be a singer, educate yourself as well in that factor. You want to be a footballer, you educate yourself. You want to be, a coder, in the IT department, educate yourself rightly with the right skills and required education. It is not just that you graduate and you're ready for any job. No. That is why the problem with our Nagas youth is that we don't come job ready. That is the problem. And I am so happy to see that there are so many organizations right now, all the colleges, the universities, they are trying their best to increase the soft skills of our Naga youth to make us job ready by the time we are graduate, to make us job ready for any kind of jobs, okay? But the problem here is we cannot be ready for every kind of job. A person cannot be master of all the cards, okay? A person cannot be master of everything. You and I, we need to find our identity. What do we want to do? And that is to be done before you reach that point where you have to choose. Now, most of us Nagas, what we do, we just wait for the last moment, and then whatever job we get, we try to adapt with that. Now, that is a very, very tedious and slow process. What you can do is, you make yourself job ready. You equip yourself with the right amount of skills, and by the time you are ready to get the job will want you then. The perspective, the whole system will change. Now, it is not us that we don't want the job. Okay, earlier it was the job doesn't want us because we don't have the required skill. But once we are with the skills, by the time when the time for the job comes, the job will want us. Now here, I'm encouraging a lot about the jobs, employability, right? Because I see many of my friends, my relatives, they graduate and they stay. They don't really work towards, getting a job. The problem here is that it is very difficult to start. The biggest obstacle is the starting line. Once you step your foot one after the other, despite of it being difficult, you start to realize that how important it is for us to go to work every single day. It doesn't really matter what the salary is. The amount of experience that we get through the work, the amount of knowledge that we gain from the practicality of the real world, the amount of exposure, the amount of network, the amount of connections, the amount of, durability in the real world that we get through these works. Those money is just the second sector of the achievements that we get through the jobs. So my dear friends and families, and all the youths of Nagaland, let's become employable, okay? Let's become employable. And in the meantime, though I aspire to be an entrepreneur, I also aim to someday create employment for my friends, for the people of Nagaland, for our youth, for anybody. But the truth is, when I start employing somebody, when I actually look for employment, I am not going to look for the friends and family that is next to me. I am going to look for the people who are with the right skills. I'm going to look for people who are with the right amount of skills that can execute the job that I want to be done in the right and the most efficient manner. So who are we to blame? The system? The organization? No. If anybody is to be blamed, it is you and I, who does not have the right skills to do the job. So let's become employable. That is going to be the harsh reality of today. That we Nagas are unemployable. We Nagas are unemployable in so many jobs that we are left unemployed for a very, very long period of time. So I think it's high time we bring a change in that. I hope and believe that this message will at least enlighten you in a little bit of things. You have to do your own research. You have to ask questions to yourself. And then at the end of the day, maybe a year from now, once you start equipping yourself with the right education, you will become job ready and you will become employable. And by the time, this number of unemployment in Nagaland will gradually drop. And before we realize, everybody is doing one thing or the other. Either some are employed or the other groups are creating employments. And that is how we grow. And I really want to see us growing. I love our state, I love our people, and I want all of us, literally all of us, to grow together. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again in the next video.